Are we plugged in?
We are plugged in.
We are plugged in, everybody. Welcome to the Ron Bass Show, everybody. Your source for all kinds of good stuff. Motivation, encouragement, inspiration. Lots of dry humor. Really dry humor. At any rate, Brent Atterbury, executive producer.
Glad to be here.
Marketing guru.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see me.
Yeah.
I always tell my friends when I see them, glad you got to see me again. They look at me like, egotistical SO guy? Oh, come on. I'm teasing. I'm only teasing. Speaking of friends in the gym, got another gym story for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a good one, though.
Man, we need to make a TV series
We
down
should.
there inside the gym.
We should.
And call it It Happened at the Gym.
I like that. Maybe a different podcast. Maybe another podcast.
It's a show.
So
Reality show.
So my friend Danny Phillips, DJP is his stage name. DJP is a hip hop guy. Been doing this for since he was knee high, and he's 50-something years old now. He is from little old Springfield, Missouri, which is the third largest city in Missouri, not a big city. But he somehow got into the hip hop world years ago, and he became a DJ, and he would set up turntables in his house, and he would do what they call scratching and mix music together. So you'd one song to the next, and it's an art for sure.
Call it mashup.
Mashup, that's right.
Yeah.
And he was one of the early guys to do mashup way back in the day, in the 70s, I guess. Yeah, I guess it'd be 70s, 80s? I guess 80s maybe. At any rate, Danny and I became friends over the last 10 years since I've been going to the gym. And today he was in there and we were talking, and I just wanted to, talk a little bit about success stories. I love to talk about success stories. So this guy came along, and he was the last guy in the world, really, that should have been successful, because Springfield, Missouri is not exactly a hip-hop town. It's redneck city, it's country music. But regardless, he stayed the course, he learned the trade, he got really good at it, and he was invited to go on the road with some pretty successful guys out of, I think, either New York or Los Angeles. So this is when he was in his 20s. So here he is touring all over the country, doing his thing, getting recognition. Wound up in Las Vegas, I think maybe in his 30s, early 40s.
Was that before MTV?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wound up playing on the Strip in Las Vegas in all these high-end clubs. He was the DJ. He was the guy. He told me some crazy stories of all the famous people that he got to meet, and
wow.
They would come up to him, of course, and, hey, play this, and hey, play that, and I'm talking about high-end producers, people that ran record labels, et cetera, artists. So he got really to be in the know, and he was making a lot of money, like a lot of money. Well, I guess what happened was the digital age came in, and they decided, well, we don't need this guy anymore. So they started hiring celebrities to come in and just play on computers, and it all kind of went away, and he wound up basically coming back to Springfield, Missouri with his tail wagging. And I think had to move in with his parents maybe, because he wasn't very good with managing money. But if you met the guy, he's the greatest guy in the world, down to earth, good person, good soul. And so he had to remake himself all over again. Well, there was a contest going on nationwide on the BET television network, which I think stands for Black Entertainment. Is that correct?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was started by a black gentleman. I can't remember his name now, but he was a big success story by himself. Anyway, they had this contest called Master of the Mix, Master of the Mixes. And basically it was mashing up. It was turntables, scratching, and playing music, right? So Danny entered the contest. And here he was down on his luck. I talk a lot about going down and up in success. It's just not always going to be straight up, right? So here he was down in the dumps, pretty much, no income, gone from all this glory to basically nothing, and he was feeling kind of obviously down on himself. So he enters this contest, and I think if he told me correctly, it was something like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 competitors. I mean, it was a lot all over the United States, and they flew him into, I don't remember what city it was, probably Los Angeles, and this contest, right? And he made it all the way to the finals, and I'll be doggone if he didn't win that contest. So in his office, in his home, he's got this big blow-up picture of the check, $250,000, made out to Danny Phillips, and it's right on the wall. So that was quite a success story. But I say that to say this, guys. Look, you can be all the way down and out, doesn't mean you have to give up and quit. And he's perfect testament to that. On the other side of the coin, just to be real, Danny's got a problem when it comes to being consistent. We talk a lot about consistency. As far as the gym, this guy's a big guy. I mean, he's like 220, 230 pounds. So when he gains weight, it's noticeable, and he gains it really quick. And what's funny about Danny over the years, he'll show up, like today, he showed up in the gym. And I said, man, I haven't seen you in a while. He said, oh, yeah. He said, I've gained some weight. I got to get back in here. And I said, no kidding, man. You got to be in the gym. Forget about the weight. You got to be there just to stay healthy and fit and look good and feel good about yourself. So he says, and by the way, he said, I've got to look good now. I said, why? He said, well, I got a call from Netflix. And they're going to be doing like a hip-hop special. And I'm going to be on the special, and they're going to come and film. And I said, wow, that's great, man. Another example of, his notoriety, because he's. I said, you're a famous guy, man. He says, well, in that world. And I said, well, that's what's up. I mean, everybody's famous. If they're famous, you're famous in your genre, in your world, right? So you're famous in that world.
Yeah.
And so, but the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that as consistent as he is in his profession, as far as his effort, his determination, hard work, and work ethics, he isn't consistent going to the gym, which is a big frigging problem for everybody that I know, with few exceptions. So you got to get in the gym, guys. I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day, an hour a day. You got to walk, run, swim, bike, Stairmaster, something. Like the holiday was the other day. Wednesday was Christmas in the United States. By the way, we have listeners in Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. Hi, guys. Appreciate your comments. And so the United States, Christmas was on Wednesday. And the gym was closed. So I just did a workout in my dojo. I walked, I did some light jogging, I did some kettlebells, I did some sit-ups and push-ups and burpees and Turkish get-ups, which is the kettlebell where you stand up with the kettlebell. That's pretty hard, by the way. That really builds your balance, because you just have to see it. Look it up sometime. Turkish get-up. It's one of the very best exercises you can do for core strength and also for balance, because you're using basically all your muscles in sync. It's just wild. You'll have to look at the video sometime. It's a really good exercise. So the point I'm trying to make is, okay, the gym's closed, so what? You can still walk if you don't want to run. Sometimes my knees hurt, I don't get to run, but I can still walk, maybe somewhat aggressively. And that's not as good as running, but it's probably at least half as good as running, which is better than zero, right? So don't make excuses. Easy to make excuses. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Okay, one more thing. So I'm drinking coffee instead of pop, right? Well, many years ago, I smoked heavily, right? I smoked like 3 packs a day from the time I was 13 to probably 30-something. I mean, I got up to that. I didn't start off with 3 packs, but I got up to that. And one of the ways that I quit smoking was every time I wanted a cigarette, I would drink a cup of coffee. And many years ago, I would do television commercials in Springfield, Missouri for my home repair business. And I always had a cup of coffee. And I was on billboards as well. And I was always recognized for having a cup of coffee. But the backstory is I did it because it helped me to quit smoking. I went from nicotine to caffeine, which is a pretty good trade. I also started running and exercising. It wasn't just the coffee. But
So how many cups a day were you drinking?
like 20 cups a day.
So you were fired up.
I was fired up. I've learned something about exercise. I have found that if you drink coffee before you exercise or before you, and I drink coffee before I go to the gym, but even before I do jiu-jitsu in the evening and compete, I'll drink coffee, and it's just a great stimulant. That's not, going to be. They say it's not the greatest thing for you, but it's a long ways from drugs and alcohol and speed and
as long as the bathroom's close.
Yeah, as long as the bathroom's close. And when you get old, guys, when you're a male, your prostate swells up and you have to pee all the time.
Too much information.
But I'm just saying, there's people out there.
TMI.
Although I did notice hardly anybody's over the age of 40 listening to our podcast. So I guess I'm like, an anomaly here.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're telling them what's going to happen.
Yeah, what's going to happen down the road. Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, well, so much for that. One more story I want to talk about, a success story. So there's a music artist named Chappell Roan. That's not her real name. That's her stage name. She's from a little town called Willard, Missouri, which is basically a suburb of our city, Springfield, Missouri. And she is currently one of the top stars in the pop music world. This gal, I mean, she just blew up. But here's the backstory. She was on Saturday Night Live like just a few months ago or a month ago, and I thought, wow, man, she just blew up. No, she didn't just blow up. She's been doing this like 10 or 15 years, and she's had album after album after album that went nowhere. One of her best songs right now that's on the top 40 on the Billboard, I saw a video of her playing it to probably about 50 people in a park somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And nobody was even hardly listening to her, which just goes to show you that you never know how successful you really are. You may think you're not going anywhere, but that's not the case. You're going somewhere all the time. It's just that people haven't recognized it yet. But let me tell you something, guys. If you don't give up and you don't quit, there's so many cool things that are going to happen for you down the line. And I'm not talking about just business or music or fitness. Just anything that you want to pursue in life, stay with it, man, because there's going to come a time where you're going to feel so successful for what you've done and paid your dues, and a lot of other people are going to gain something from that. Like in her case, she, is music's the medicine. Music is a drug, and so think about all the people all over the world now that know who she is. And by the way, she's going to the Grammys, and she's probably going to win some Grammys. And she paid her dues, man. I saw a video of her from 9 years ago. You wouldn't even recognize this girl. She didn't look anything like what she looks like now, didn't sound anything like she sounds like now. But she was consistent. She played music, and no matter what the crowd was, she still got out there and performed. So you just have to keep following the rules. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. Follow the rules, man. Stay the course. Stay on the track. And so congratulations to Chappell Roan for her success. What a phenomenal success story. Right here in our own backyard in Missouri. Pretty cool stuff, huh?
Lots of good stories today.
Good stories.
Quite a storyteller today.
I know. I think it's because I've been hanging around you so long. And your dad was probably obviously a great storyteller.
Yeah.
You've inherited a lot of that.
Okay.
Yeah. At least on the joke side. You're always full of jokes.
Oh, nah.
Okay, coffee. Caffeine, man. You can't beat it.
No.
I'll have to look up some
Keeps
of the
the
old
fire burning.
Yeah. It's a great stimulant, and it doesn't cost hardly anything, right?
Yeah, 20 cups is probably a little overdue.
I was a little overdoing it back in the day. But I probably drink 8 or 10 cups a day now. Yeah. That's not bad. I mean, it's not like... I've read some stories that say there's some downside to it, but mostly I read that it's an upside. Gives me some extra energy and helps me to work out when I do like jiu-jitsu. Gives me some extra pep. And I need that when I'm going against, like last night I wrestled a guy that was less than half my age, and he was like 100 pounds heavier than me. He beat me, but at least I was in the game. I don't know if I could have been in the game without working out and drinking some coffee. Man. Oh, well. Okay, so we're going to talk about, we're talking about a lot of stuff, but we're going to talk about health. We always talk about health, right? Mental and physical. Look, mental is just as important as physical. People don't talk too much about mental health, but man, wow. I've got one of my students right now that is really struggling with depression. What's causing it? I'm analyzing to myself. Is it family? Is it because he went through a divorce? Is it because he was born with chemical imbalance? Is it because he drinks too much? Is it because he's smoking too much pot? Maybe all those things. I'm not sure that doctors always know exactly what's up. They like to prescribe medication, which I agree in some cases is necessary, but I think in a lot of cases, no. I think if a guy would just get it together, go to the gym, quit doing alcohol and drugs, hang around with the right kind of people, get some rest, I think in many cases you could manage depression. I'm not saying you can cure it, but I think it will do almost as good as those meds. Now, in some cases, I agree that you got to be prescribed, particularly when you have psychotic episodes like schizophrenia. That's a whole different kind of mental problem. I think I've talked about it before. My brother was schizophrenic. So you hear things, you see things that are not real, and that's just the brain chemistry, the brain physiology. It's just the way it is. You got to get on medication, or else you're going to spend a lifetime of hell. and people aren't going to be able to communicate with you. You're not going to be in reality. It's a whole big problem, whole nother mess. But at any rate, I think here's what happens when it comes to working out or doing things that are good for yourself. I think when you're young, it's a big disadvantage in some ways because you feel like you're 10 feet tall and you can go 24 hours a day and you don't need that much rest and you don't recognize what the future is going to bring. So you tend to not follow the rules. You drink too much, you smoke too much, you play too much, you don't rest enough, you eat wrong. And I think you don't follow the rules. So you gotta think about this, guys. If you're young, you still got to follow the rules, even though you feel like it's not that important. It is very important. And as you get older, you're going to recognize that, man, it's bad news. Let me give you an example of bad news bears. I know somebody that is he's at the top of his game in a particular sport, and he does steroids. And he believes, this is from his mouth, that he would rather take 20 years off of his life by doing steroids and die at 50 and be at the top of his game and be successful in his sport versus to die at 70 or 80 and be average. Now, I don't agree with that.
Nor do I.
But that's him. And I tell you something, I've known this guy for over 10 years, and if you look at a picture of him now versus then, wow, man, you talk about having looked like he's aged. And I'm not saying that to like be mean. It's like overtly obvious that he's really aging. And I didn't know the steroids could do that to you, but I mean, I know it's bad for the heart and particularly bad for the heart, right? I read a lot of stories about athletes that do steroids that are dying very young and having heart surgeries. And I know of at least 2 famous people that have had heart surgeries. One had a heart transplant at 60. The other one's had heart surgeries in his 50s and 60s. I'm not saying steroids are the only reason why that could happen, but I think in their case, because they're physically fit guys, it's most likely got to be steroids. Well, yeah, it's a shame, I think, to myself that this guy would give up 20 years of his life for the thrill of being successful. That's crazy. But there's a lot of people that think like that, man. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Isn't there a song called Crazy?
Well, you always say that you're crazy.
I'm crazy.
I'm
The
crazy
whole world's
too.
crazy. I'm crazy too. No, who's the song? Patsy Cline.
Patsy Cline.
What was the name of that song? Crazy?
I think so.
Crazy for you? I'm crazy.
Crazy, I think.
Crazy for you. I think that's one of the lyrics in the song.
Yeah.
You know who wrote that song?
No.
Willie Nelson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's written a lot of songs.
A lot of songs. And one of his most famous songs that he's done is called You're Always on My Mind, which was written by my friend's father, Wayne Carson. Christian Carson was his son. They're from Springfield, Missouri, where I live. And I knew the whole family, the wife, the father, the son. The parents got divorced. The wife and I became good friends years ago. But the son, he was a great musician too, but he died from alcoholism and over smoke, lung cancer in his 50s. Man, sad. Great guy too, but Wayne Carson wrote a bunch of successful songs. One of them was called Always on My Mind. Willie Nelson recorded the song along with 100 other artists, including Elvis Presley. And there's still money coming in from those songs. That's how my friend lived, from residual income. Him and his sister got checks every month. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, huh? Always on my mind.
That's
but,
crazy.
the music world's a crazy world, man.
It is.
A lot of drugs and alcohol in that world, too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so youth. Now, so that's the downside to not being motivated to want to work out. Here's the other side of the coin. When you're over 50, there's a whole bunch of other problems that go with that. Why you're not motivated? Your energy level's low, so you're not as motivated, and you don't feel as good. And so now you say, "Oh, I can't work out now because it's too late." So I'm trying to make a comparison here: youth versus age, old. You can't do that, guys. You have to make health your priority. It has to be number one every day. And if you do that, your odds of success are going to be much higher. Is it perfect? No. But I'm an odds guy. I want to play the odds. Brent knows all the mistakes that I made over the last few years, and he knows how I'm correcting those mistakes. And because I am, my odds of improving my success story gets greater every month, every year. So is it perfect? No. Am I going to have days that are difficult? Yes. Am I going to be disappointed someday? Yes. But I'm just saying on the whole picture, the odds of my success are much higher if I work out every day and I hit all my mistakes head on and don't run from them and figure it out and deal with the stress and the disappointments and the heartache. Because I promise you, you're going to have them, man, particularly if you're ambitious. So if you don't feel good and you don't have high energy levels, I don't care. You got to get to the gym. You got to walk every day, 30 minutes. Do something to physically move your body. And I tell you, you're going to feel a gazillion% better, not only physically, but about yourself as well. These are conundrums, guys, whether you're young or you're old, but it's just the way it is.
That's a big word.
Do you like conundrum?
Conundrum.
I love that word.
Yeah.
I discovered that word somewhere along the way. And I don't hear too many people using that word. No. And I'm not a big word guy.
Sounds like a conundrum to me.
It's a conundrum. Okay, well, I'm kind of wearing this topic out. And by the way, the rules are pretty simple, right? Exercise, don't overeat, don't eat too much bad stuff, rest, and by all means, guys, I say it all the time, surround yourself with good people. Solid people, not users, not manipulators, not narcissists, not greedy people, not selfish people, which I've done all that. I've been around a lot of people that have schmoozed me pretty good, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but you know what? You have to learn from that. I've got so many friends that are using their spouses for money. It's terrible. And you know what? The spouse doesn't see it. I see it so clearly. These are guys that are cheating on these women, taking advantage of the circumstance because the women love them so much, and they're living off that fat of the lamb, you know. Sad deal. So you have to be really, really careful, guys. And if you find yourself in a situation that you know for sure is bad for you, you have to have the courage to get out. I'm not saying it's easy. I know you don't want to do it. I know it's not comfortable. I know people don't like change. But guys, you got to do it. You just got to do it. Any breaking news?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yes. This is something a lot of people are going to be excited
Okay,
about.
cool.
So, have you ever been on a dating site?
I've looked at them, but I've never employed anybody from
Okay.
that site. I've never hired anybody from that site. No.
Okay. Dating sites, you don't hire them.
Well, you know what I mean.
I'm going to hire you to go on a date with me.
I guess I'm used to the old days. I'd hire dancers. I know it's terrible
Okay.
to say, but
Too much information.
information.
Okay.
That was back in the good old days. Out of the newspaper.
Oh boy,
But
that's
we didn't
funny.
have internet. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I've had an interesting past.
there's
I'm not
new
proud of it, but
there's a new online dating site. It's called Mingle. And it's the first online dating site for Disney fans. So if you're a fan of Disney, and you can go on there and share stories and share exciting adventures that you've had with Disney, people that are like-minded, they'll love Disney. So that's really exciting.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody's making some money.
Mingle.
Mouse. Speaking of Mickey Mouse, so what was the story? Another success story about Walt Disney. I think he went bankrupt like in his 20s, and nobody gave him the time of day. He was doing cinema stuff or film stuff, and he was got to Kansas City, Missouri, and failing, and whatever happened, and then he picked himself up. I think what really got him going again was World War II. He was hired by the government to do films, I think, and government's money, and he was able to take that money and turn it into, hone his craft a little more. And then I guess after the war, he got into the whole Disney studio thing, animation and Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
Entertainment.
And all that. I think it's kind of what happened with him. But another example, guys, of just because you go broke, just because you have a bad relationship, just because you have a divorce, just because you fall on bad times, does not mean that it's the end.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all success stories have this element in it. the richest guy in the world, Elon Musk. I tell this story all the time because I study this guy. Yes, he was very successful in his late teens, early 20s. Him and his brother built, it was either PayPal or something like the PayPal, and he sold it, and they got like a couple $100 million. He was asked by the Tesla owners, through two guys who started Tesla, to invest in their company, and he was an angel investor, and he invested in the company, and he didn't like these guys for whatever, they weren't his cup of tea. He got rid of them, or they quit, or they let whatever happened, and he became the sole owner. This is back like 20 years ago, guys. Now think about this. Maybe 22 or 23 years ago, when he was mid-20s, late 20s. And he put in a lot of money into Tesla, and it was just sucking money, like burning money. And he got to the point after about 7, 8, 10 years, he was broke. Now think about this. Richest guy in the world now was broke 15 years ago. Now, people aren't going to believe this, but I'm telling you guys, I've studied this at length. He cut a deal with the two guys that owned Google to buy him out so he could recover some money. And then he changed his mind at the last. It was a handshake deal. I mean, they made the deal on a handshake. They didn't have it on paper. And I just can't do it. And he didn't do it. And I think the next year he went to the stock exchange, went public, and he never looked back. That was about like 14 years ago. And they still weren't making a profit, but his stock caused him to become, his stock value made him a billionaire. And then the company started making money like just a few years ago. The Amazon story is real similar. They didn't make money forever. Jeff Bezos, who's just got married, by the way, to a gal about 20 years younger than he was, got divorced, and his wife's now the richest female in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, because the divorce settlement was crazy. But the story goes he spent $600 million on his wedding. I mean, really? He's denying it. Mm-hmm. Who would spend $600 million on a wedding? If I ever got married, man, I'd just go down to the city hall and get a license. And
what? That ties in.
You don't need all that.
That ties in what is celebrated today.
Okay, tell me.
National Fruitcake Day.
That's perfect.
Oh, and also, you'll like this.
Okay.
It's National Thank You Note Day, which is, you don't see that anymore.
No, you don't.
It's a lost art. Very effective and still very important. When it does happen, it does affect people and it touches people.
I'll tell you a quick story about that. Many years ago, I met a guy named Tom Murray in Springfield, Missouri. He owned the Pabst Blue Ribbon beer distributorship. His family is still very successful in Missouri in the real estate world. He's got a lot of cousins and uncles and relatives. At any rate, he taught me something along those lines. This is way before the computer. Like, we didn't have computers. He said, Ron, you should mail thank you letters to every customer every year. And I did that for years and years. And then I think I graduated from that to calling. And what I would do, and here's what I still do today. I call every customer every morning from the day before to thank them for their business and to ask them if everything is still okay from the work we did the day before. A couple things happen. One, they're not used to that, for sure, right?
Right.
They appreciate it because you're showing respect and consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 or 3, if something's wrong, you're going to find out right then because a lot of people won't tell you unless you ask them. They're shy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are going to tell you, and they're going to tell you plenty on the phone. They're going to be yelling at you. But that's okay. That's part of business. Nothing is perfect, guys. You're going to have to deal with goods and bads and all arounds. But, so back to what you were saying, that's a great philosophy, by the way. So if you're in business, want to go into business, follow that lead. Send thank you notes. Call your customers every day that you've done work for. Show your appreciation and respect. And you know what? I get referral business every single day because of that, as well as repeat business. Today I got a referral. He said, my dad said to give you a call. I said, thank you. I said, what did we do for your dad? He said, you fixed his plumbing. And he said, it's still working really good. And now I've got a plumbing problem. Perfect example of why you want to follow through, let alone do a good job, be fair and honest. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't want to be not ethical. Oh, there's a lot of people that sure are.
That's right.
How are we doing on time?
We've been going an hour or two. I'm just kidding. No, you've had a lot of stories today. We need to name this podcast the Story Podcast.
Is that what we should name it?
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of them in there.
All right, well, I'm going to shut up, I guess, because I think we probably bored people.
Well, one more thing.
Yes.
Today
Yeah.
is the last day of the podcast. This year.
That's a good one.
This year.
That's a good one.
And then we start fresh. First part of next week.
By the way, somebody said, one of the comments was, it sure came out slow this week. I don't know what that means, because we do them every week. Maybe, is there some distribution issue with YouTube sometimes, or with Spotify? Well, surely not.
It probably is me.
No, because I'm noticing that it's they're always coming out like in a few days.
Yeah, that's it. We have some processes in place to get it all done, and sometimes there's a day lag or hiccup, but we don't have any network sponsoring us, so we
love being independent. If we ever get any sponsors, you know what? We're gonna name our own tune. Though we're not gonna bow down to anybody. We're always gonna be independent. Yeah. I just love it. We're not for sale. We want to, even if somebody wanted to buy us, we wouldn't sell it, because it's a lot more to us than that. It's about, what it's about. It's about sharing and helping and encouraging and seeing people benefit from this process, right? Any rate.
Any closing thoughts, Ron, on the end of the year, reflecting on going into the new year?
Yes. So the new year is just like I've always said, it's like it's the next day. I mean, every day is a new opportunity. Mm-hmm. Every year is a new opportunity to reset. You have to reset, guys. You cannot dwell and rest on your laurels. You can't dwell on your heartaches. Just keep moving, man. Just every day. And today, this morning, something happened. I was kind of mad about something, and I looked out the window, and we're on a really busy street, and I see this poor guy could barely walk. And it almost made me cry, because I thought, here I'm complaining about something that is nothing. This guy would give anything to be able to walk. And here I'm complaining about something that's so frivolous. Mm-hmm. Keep that in mind, guys. You don't know how good you've got it. And even if you're down on your luck, look. Down on your luck. Look, that's pretty good, huh?
Look.
Down on your luck. Look. It's a play on words. Mm. Have you ever seen anything? Have you ever seen the Martin Short films? He's very short, by the way. Yeah,
he's hilarious.
Is that why they named him Short? No. Is that his real name?
I think so.
He's a funny comedian. He can sing. He can do all the things. He can sing, dance.
He was recently on the Christmas special of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I saw some excerpts of that on TikTok.
It's good.
So is TikTok going to be around? Is it going to? The president says we're going to find a way to save it. It's a Chinese thing. the Congress is going crazy. They want to. What a mess. But I think if the president's happy with it, it's probably going to stick around. Mm-hmm. I think they say, from everything I've studied, that's really what got him the presidency, is he plugged into that youth, the TikTok youth, the social media, and got all the youth involved that nobody thought he could get. But they just love him. You know why they love him? Because he shoots from the hip, like we do. He's a little bit crazy, but I think a lot of it's just he's very entertaining. Yes, he's a little crass. I get it, but kids like that, and they like the idea that he's straight shooter. He says it like it is. He doesn't pull any punches, and I think people are sick and tired of all the fluff. They want to see the truth. They want to hear the truth. They want to know that somebody means business. And this, he's all about it. He's wanting to annex Canada. He's wanting to buy the Greenland. Yeah. He's wanting to get Panama back. I mean, he's doing some interesting stuff. Anyway, so much for all that. All right.
Yeah.
That's what I got to say. Okay, if we're done, here's what I got to say to finish. If you don't give up, the stars are eventually going to line up. Stay the course. Stay patient. Patience. I've never been a good doctor. I don't have enough patience. You have to have patience. It's very important. And people give up right before something really good is going to happen. I see it all the time. Don't give up. Struggle through the process and figure it out. A lot of times you got to do it on your own, guys. Mm-hmm. Dream about it. Think about it. Write about it. Consult somebody about it. You'll find some answers. I've Brent and I have been together probably 10 years, and we talk all the time about things that aren't going well and what we can do to correct them, and we bounce ideas off each other. And get around somebody that's smarter than you. That will be very helpful. Okay, until that time comes, guys, just remember, keep your chin up, keep your head up, and stay positive.